Right, folks, so here I have this old tube that I got from my friend a while back, and as you can see, the tube neck broke, rendering the entire tube here just useless. I can't really use that for much. I know the chassis works, and I just need a new tube. Luckily, so this is a 14 or 13 inch, depending on what system you use, but we'll say 14 inch for the sake of this video. 14 inch tube. Luckily these are standard and you can pretty much salvage them from any 14 inch TV type. There's a couple of things though that you need to check, so I just thought in this video we'll probably swap the tube, and I'll show you what things you need to check and what precautions to take and that kind of stuff. But it's actually fairly simple. It's a lot simpler than people think. In fact, my friend who had this didn't know that you could just take any tube, really, as long as it's the same size. And then the only thing that's going to make a difference is really the socket and the neck here. Okay, so here, the first thing you need to do is obviously disconnect all this assembly and the tube. But I just want to show you one check we're going to do is check this coil here. Essentially, you can use the tube as is, but whether we can use the coil from this monitor on this monitor is really the question. So either we can use this coil that's already there, we don't need to change anything, or we'll have to take the coil from here and move it to this monitor. I am usually guessing that they will be fine, because on those, especially on those 14 inch, it's sort of standard. There's a few differences, there's a few different monitors here and there, but more or less for arcade machines and TV screens, it was pretty standard. It gets a bit trickier when you move inside. So first I want to see, there's two coils here, you see the two connections here. I want to see which coil is which, so we're just going to do a continuity test. Okay, that's one coil. Okay, that's the other. So I want to test the impedance across one of the coils. So we're going to set this to ohms and just try. Can I have this here in the same picture? It goes up to 4.7. Let's just say 4.5 for argument's sake. 15.3, yeah, it depends. It goes as, we'll just say 15.5, but from experience it's about correct. Next thing we're gonna do is the same thing on this tube. Find out which coil is which coil, and then measure everything. Okay, that's one coil, that's the other. Okay, it's the same coil here. I'm getting readings closer to 4.5. Actually, now it's 4.3. Okay, so these are the readings I got on the first tube. I got 15.5. It sometimes goes to 16, and I sometimes reach actually the other one 16.3, but we'll just say for argument's sake 15.5 and 4.5. And in this one 16.3 and 4.3, when I read them, sometimes they actually match, but I'll show you what the rule is. Well, the rule. Essentially, you can swap one tube with the coil into another one if the readings are within 10 or 20% of each other. So in this case, we'll just say 10% for argument's sake, just to be on the safe side. But 4.5 and 4.3 are, this is 0.45. So we are actually within the specs here. Same here, 1.5, well, with 15, 1.5, that would bring us to 17, or down to the 14, altogether. So 16.3 is well within spec, so we can swap these for one another. This is great news, and I'm going to do this right now. Let's discharge actually the tube here first. I don't expect it to have any charge left, but you never know. It's the one security thing you don't really want to skip, even though the tube has been sitting for probably months and years, and at this stage, never assume that it's discharged completely. These are adjustment rings here. It's very handy. Standard TVs wouldn't have them, but these can be handy to save and put. I should be able to just slide them directly. Yeah, there you go. Interesting things, you can save these to make sort of degaussing tool. Maybe we'll make a video at some point on that as well. And let's try this again for size. So what goes where now? There's a lot of stuff. So this is your tube socket. This is another thing you want to check as well beforehand, obviously, but the tube socket fits. These are, again, standard. I'm not sure exactly what they are called. And these shapes, they're very, very standard. Most TVs would have them, and a lot of arcade monitors as well. But they can differ sometimes. The toy monitors, I think, have their own sockets. And I think the Geo7 might have their own stuff as well. This is our power coming in. These are all different, so it could be depending on your chassis. But this wire we can ignore. That's going to be our RGB, red, green, and blue inputs. We've got our ground, and we've got our sync signal. So this is going to be coming from your JARM harness or your board. This is the only bit of soldering we need to do, so we'll figure out which color goes where here. So we'll get the multimeter again and just take a good reading. It's going to be a bit of guessing, because what happens is one coil is for horizontal, the other one is for vertical. Now we'll match those easily by just checking the impedance, but which wire goes where will affect which way the picture is displayed. So if we invert the vertical wire, let's just say it's here, if we put one wire here, which should be like that, our image is going to be flipped. It's no big deal, we'll correct that afterwards. Some monitors, actually this one, offer two sockets here for the tube, the neck, for the coil connections here, just in case you do that very thing. Ideally you'd need four, because there's horizontal and vertical. So let's do that. Right, we got all our bits reconnected here, and the next thing we just need to power it, connect it to your board, and see what happens. So let's go back to the workbench to do this. We're back in my room, and here you can see I have the chassis plugged in the monitor. First things first though, this is another chassis, because while testing this, the chassis that I had for this frame and the old tube encountered some issues, one of which can be summed up as poof. So I'm using a different chassis, but the purpose and the aim of the video is the same, is to show you how to simply identify and switch a tube. I have this plugged in, and this is what we get. So the image is inverted. Sometimes it can be flipped this way as well. So what this is we just need to invert two of these yoke wires. So it's either the ones on the outside or the ones on the inside. So we'll do a few tests and see what we get. Right, the two wires I needed to swap was the brown and the blue here. I just have them wrapped around here, and what I did is I also swapped the green and red to show you a fully just flipped inverted image. You can see, well, the image is flipped, but you can see the even the if I if I flip this over, even the letters and the picture is inverted horizontally. So I just reinvert those wires, and our picture will be just nice and fine and dandy. And there you go, that's a tube swapped, a free tube I got from a TV I salvaged, and now we got a nice arcade chassis running on it. So it's worth just keeping those anyway if you have a few broken tubes. And by the way, I meant to say the readings I was getting early on on my other multimeter came slightly wrong. What I was reading as 16 should have been 13. It read as 13 and 3 point something on this guy. So I probably have an issue with that multimeter. It's probably, actually batteries might be low. One of the wires is slightly loose, so that could be it. The whole point is that we get consistency across both tubes, coils. So there you go, folks. That's how to swap a tube. It's rather easy. It's pain-free. It should be pain-free unless you fry your chassis in the process. But I should have tested this chassis before doing any of that. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope this was interesting. Don't forget Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all this sort of stuff. There's a Patreon account as well if you want to help the channel, and Discord if you want to chat. Folks, thank you for watching. See you next time.